This episode, we're going over the top 10 box office from the weekend, all the records that were broken by Incredibles, and our reactions to the films.
This is Off the Break Podcast, presented by Silver Screen Insider.
Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Cody, and with me this week is Kyle and Eric.
Hey, Cody.
Hey, Cody.
My dream team. All right, so this weekend, top 10 was huge. The Incredibles just outperformed everybody, which was the expectation.
Yeah, there was no way that wasn't going to happen.
I was surprised by the number. I was guessing like 140. I thought that would be a pretty good weekend.
I mean, even that would be high.
And then it spiked up to 180, and that was very surprising. I did not expect that at all.
You always have to give, fans, crazy rabid fans, benefit of the doubt. They're gonna overperform.
Yeah, I guess
that
that's
always
true.
seems to be the case with these things.
Mm-hmm.
Especially on a film that the fan base was asking for a sequel for 14 years.
Only 14 years.
Yeah. There was quite a bit of time to kind of get that eagerness built up for it.
It worked. If that's what they were going for, it wasn't. But if that's what they were going for, then it definitely worked.
Plus, it's also going to help that it's releasing in probably the most concentrated part of superhero films in general.
True. Yeah, with just the increase that we've had as compared to 2000.
I mean, it's been going on for years, but especially after Infinity War comes out and superheroes are just going as strong as ever, it's perfect opportunity to release kind of one of the best superhero franchises, I'd say, easily.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely an accessible, family-friendly superhero film with a happy ending, whereas Avengers this year had the saddest ending ever.
Thanos did nothing wrong.
I do not know what you mean, Cody.
Sadness
In
all
denial.
around. So, yeah, Incredibles debuted at number 1 this weekend.
180.
180,
Jeez.
followed by Ocean's 8, which only dropped 53%, which was expected.
I mean, going up against Incredibles, that's totally admirable.
And then Tag was another new offering, and it opened number 3 at 14 million, which for a rated R comedy, I think it was positioned pretty well to capture that audience, that little bit of audience that didn't want to see Incredibles.
Well, especially against Incredibles, like that's a good number. Like that's about right with the past R-rated comedies that have come out this year, I believe. So,
I mean, quick clarification. I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of people who saw Tag went and saw Tag because Incredibles was sold out. They probably went there with the intention of seeing Incredibles too.
that is a little scary to think of, but yeah.
I mean,
Right.
if my theater experience was at all indicative of the others, everybody there was getting turned down because it was sold out, and they go, well, I guess we could see Tag. That's supposed to be funny, right?
yeah.
I guess we'll see when next weekend, if Tag has a 60% drop or anything in the high 50s, then you'll know that it was, front people that push over from people missing out on Incredibles.
Yeah, it's just kind of made up of people who weren't really planning on seeing it, but they're like,
Right.
hey, we're already here, so.
Yep. Then and then to round out the top 5 was Solo and Deadpool.
Good old Solo, still holding on.
It is. It's a PG-13 film that's still considered a family film. So if there's people that couldn't get into Incredibles but still wanted something to take kids to, Solo works.
Yeah.
That might help its staying power, but it still wasn't able to make the money back that it should have.
Not even close. Poor. It's a good movie, but the damage was done a long time ago. It's too bad.
Yeah.
And then Superfly was the last of the new wide release offerings this week, and it debuted at number 6 outside the top 5, which...
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really see a whole lot of marketing or really anything for Superfly.
It was tough. I think the original didn't do very well, although it became this kind of cult, kind of classic.
Yeah, that's what happens with
So-
a lot of kind of blaxploitation movies.
But it just was so long ago, I'm not sure who the audience was for it today. And the audience, I think, is concentrated in these super urban markets, and it was never going to place wide. And when you have such a family-friendly offering like Incredibles, and that's the event pick of the weekend to go to.
Yeah, it just didn't really stand a chance.
Where it ended up being wasn't too surprising to me. basically just going off of what you guys said. Like the marketing wasn't that strong, and you can't really find the right audience for it to be completely widespread, and it ended up where it probably was gonna end up. Like, I don't think this was a huge
there's
surprise
really no
for many.
alternate scenario that I can envision.
I know Sony's big thing this year and in their coming slate is this diverse slate of diverse characters and diverse offerings. And I think you've got to really strategically market those films. And Sony, I don't think they knew what to do with this one. They tried to, at the last minute, push up the release date to a Wednesday opening.
I do remember that. I thought, I was looking at it. It's like, oh, this is coming out on a Wednesday?
No,
Sony pulls that a lot, though. Like, that's not surprising at all. They always choose, like, a movie or two a year to be like, oh, it's a Wednesday opening,
now you
guys.
can catch this 2 days early before The Incredibles comes out.
So that's not surprising, but it's usually for those movies that they don't know quite how to market it.
It's just
so
kind of like, why not? Maybe we'll make a few extra bucks.
Yeah.
Right. They're trying to get ahead of it, but it's just so confusing when it's not an event pick, because no one's going to look for Superfly on a Wednesday night or Thursday night.
Yeah.
It is a predominantly a weekend picture, and they should have just probably left it there.
What can you do?
So Tag did about what we expected it to do. It was like good alternative, rated R, but I think it got hurt by its rated R, by it being rated R.
I mean, rated R comedies always get hurt by their rating.
Also, I mean, just kind of based on kind of what I've been gathering from other people and online, is a lot of people didn't really know how seriously to take that premise, because obviously the poster and the trailers, they always play up that based on a true story. We're not kidding. Yeah. But, maybe that may not be enough. I can still see people being like, this is just about grown-ups playing tag. That sounds kind of childish. And then maybe write it off in the back of their minds. That's
kind of surprising, though, because all people have to do is go on the internet and look it up. Like, the story, it's from the Wall Street Journal. Like, it's out there.
The actual story of the real people.
Yeah. It's just a weird. It's just a weird thing that people would just be like, I don't know if they're actually you just look it up. I
think you're putting too much faith in people looking it up. They're not going to do that.
I obviously am, but it's just always been weird to me that since people are already on the internet doing things, you can't just open another tab and double. I don't know, but yeah, you're right. I just always try to have too much faith in people. So, well, whatever.
I think Warner's knows how to market it really well. I think they played up on the fact that it was a story about friendship and it was a comedy. I just think, though, that maybe their audience would have been a little bit bigger if they had gone PG-13. It totally looked like it should have been PG-13, because if you're playing up this camaraderie and these friendships and stuff, you just kind of think that's more of a
I mean, I still have yet to see it, but I can't. My initial reaction is that it's probably rated R because one or two characters drops a well-timed F-bomb probably. Yeah. So it strikes me as a movie that totally could have gotten away with being PG-13.
Coming from a person who has seen
oh yes, I forgot.
Who has seen Tag.
Enlightened.
There is a lot more to it than just dropping one or two F-bombs. Like, there is some stuff where you're just like, oh, that's actually kind of dark, or that's
Does it work,
takes
though?
it to the edge. Surprisingly enough, it does. Like
you can see it has a purpose for being in there.
Yeah, like what the movie does really well is that it's able to balance like outlandish comedy with a heartfelt message. And usually those are just such on the opposite spectrum that for most comedies it doesn't work, but for whatever reason, whether it was the writing or whether it was the cast just having that great chemistry, it just had a great blending to make it all work out. And
that's
it makes you want to look into the story as well of all those guys that played or still are playing Tag all these years.
Oh, they still are?
Pretty sure, yeah.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I wonder, where are they now?
Oh, they're all spread around. I think one of them was in Montana for a while.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
I think he's a priest or something.
One of them is a priest. Yeah,
to do with the
track
church.
This guy down.
This isn't a spoiler. At the end of the movie, during the credits, they show footage of those guys playing Tag. So they show them in like costumes, and some of the stuff that he did was real. And they showed an end photo of all the guys, and one of them is a priest. So I bet it is him.
I think he was in a small church in Montana for a while, and I don't know if he has since moved on, but
yeah, I don't know.
That's just where one of them are, but they're all spread around.
Yeah.
Well, now I think we can segue into all the records that Incredibles broke.
Yeah, seriously.
1 or 2.
Yeah. So just the top ones that everybody's talking about. Incredibles 2 was the biggest animated opening of all time.
Yep. 180 million will do that.
180 million beat the previous record holder, which was Finding Dory, also a Disney sequel, animated sequel.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that was the previous record holder.
Yeah.
And that was at 135 million, so completely shattered that.
Kind of another situation, though, of a lot of years from when it first opened, and people have been anticipating for it. But I think Incredibles was just a little bit more loved than Finding Nemo by a bit.
Oh yeah, I mean the fan base.
But it's close, obviously. But I think just Incredibles was the clear winner.
Yeah, I mean I'm not even comparing Incredibles 1 to Finding Nemo, but when Finding Dory was announced, I feel like kind of the premise people weren't as sold on it as they are about Incredibles 2.
True, they hear Finding Dory.
Finding Nemo sequel. Oh, but it's about Finding Dory. It's like okay, I'll see it.
You're just like, I don't know if I need this side character to be the main character, but I'll give it a chance. Yeah.
Whereas Incredibles 2 wasn't really sold as now it's about this person, or it's just more adventures with these beloved characters.
Yeah,
and that's I think all people really wanted.
Yeah, I mean with the Incredibles, like they really expanded on just not one character, but all of their characters basically. Yeah, and since it takes place like literally right after the movie,
yeah,
I was kind of worried on like how much farther can you go with these characters, and it actually really surprised me a lot. Like they expanded on Mr. Incredible now, like learning that he has to be a family man, like that really has to come first for him, and now like he's trying to be a father figure, like an actual father in the second one. I really enjoyed, and Violet was a big surprise as well.
Violet was like arguably my favorite one.
Yeah, me too.
She was hilarious.
She was hilarious, but like she expanded on growing up as a person.
Yeah, there was a lot of actually pretty like serious adolescent issues. Kind of.
Yeah.
They weren't just played for laughs. Obviously, they're funny, but the movie didn't diminish how significant they were for her as a person.
Right, exactly. And that's what Pixar does so well for most of their movies, obviously. Like, they know how to play up things for laughs, but have, like, a terrific payoff at the end.
Oh, there's always a beating heart to it.
Yeah, The Incredibles 2 is a perfect example of being able to continue that.
For sure.
After the biggest animated opening of all time, we go into the fact that it's the 8th largest opening of any genre. So
just in general.
It has made the top 10. And this cements Disney's reign as the supreme opening weekend powerhouse movie creator.
The mouse rules all.
They have 9 out of the top 10 biggest openings of all time.
Yeah, not the only one being that's not Disney is what, Jurassic World?
It's Jurassic World now.
Number 4, right?
Yeah, so of the top 10 of all time,
well, I know
mostly
Infinity War is number 1.
Yes.
Obviously. And then what? Force Awakens.
Last Jedi. I'm glad we know that's off the top of our head.
Jurassic World. And then Marvel's The Avengers, Black Panther, Avengers Age of Ultron, Incredibles 2.
I'm sensing a pattern.
Yeah. Captain America Civil War, and Beauty and the Beast. Rounds out the top 10.
Superhero films that the mouse is under. That's under the mouse's reign.
It's an unbeatable formula.
It's kind of interesting that superheroes pretty much dominate that. And of the ones that are not superhero movies, it's a dinosaur movie. And then
a remake of another Disney classic.
Yeah, and then a Disney fairy tale for kids. So
people just love Disney.
I don't know if it's that they love Disney, but I think they.
I mean, maybe they're just not given a whole lot of other options.
Well, when Disney buys properties that are super beloved, like Marvel, like Star Wars.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's also crazy too to remember, like when Disney bought Marvel, like it wasn't as beloved as it is now. Like they were still trying to put their foot through the door, and then once Avengers was the hit that it was, then they were able to capitalize on that. So they're just good at like seeing like what is trending and what is worthy of being capitalized, and they take advantage of it, and they just market it well.
Just use
they
all
make
of
sure
their resources.
Yeah.
And just
which is working for them,
But when
which is how you should run things.
I would argue though that Marvel had already established itself.
Well, that's what I was-
When Disney bought it, Paramount still had the distribution rights. So
Yeah.
you already had Iron Man, and you
Yeah.
were just getting Captain America and
Right.
Thor. So it was already on its path.
Is that when Disney
well,
bought Marvel?
Disney
what
bought
movie was the
Marvel.
last one released before Disney bought
I
Marvel?
think-
I think
can't
it was
remember.
No, I think it was Captain America.
Was
Oh,
it?
and then they bought it.
And then they bought it.
'Cause
Avengers.
Captain America was the last one before the Avengers.
Yeah,
right?
Avengers was one of the first ones Disney released.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
So they had already established the main characters of Iron Man,
So
Captain
you
America,
think
Thor.
Well, I
regardless
mean-
if Disney would have acquired them, they would have gone on to find the same
don't know if-
success?
I think they would have always been successful. I definitely
But
think
under
Disney.
Paramount, though.
Yeah, Paramount distribution probably held it back a little bit, but
Yeah.
Disney
mean-
just gave it the maximum reach. that
right.
it-
But
that
I
it
think they
achieve.
could, if Warner Brothers had purchased them. Warner Brothers has an excellent marketing.
Yeah.
They could have probably done
True.
something as well as good
like
with it.
Yeah, like we've talked about
Or
before, though,
Universal.
one of the big things with these Marvel movies is the majority of them pretty much market themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's the fan base of all these individual characters is already out there.
Right.
People are gonna see it. They just have to be told that it's happening, and
Right.
then they'll mark their calendars and they'll show up.
And I would argue the same thing with Lucasfilm. I mean, these are very easy investments with little risk. And Disney is just plugging in these super popular properties into its marketing and distribution network. It's not really creating anything from the ground up.
No, they just got in early, acquired these self-marketing franchises, and they get us sit back and watch
Yeah.
the money roll in.
And make sure that the quality of the movie is maintained and that everything is
True,
protected.
yeah.
And they're very good about doing that.
True. Nobody's really, love or hate what the Marvel franchise is. You can't really deny that the movies across the board they're very, very decent at worst.
Right.
Sometimes, they can be great.
Yeah, I mean, and as we were looking at the top openings of all time, like we just see that it's just all Disney takeover at the top 10, and then there's some solid movies that are not Disney that aren't able to
Right.
get into or that aren't in the top 10 anymore.
I think when you kind of imagine these huge franchises, like things that are iconic out there that people identify with, you're thinking Star Wars, Marvel, but you're thinking Harry Potter.
Yeah,
That's
true.
no longer in the
True.
top 10. You're thinking maybe Fast and Furious franchises.
Yeah.
That's not in the top 10 anymore. Dark Knight. So some Warner Brothers DC properties that are pretty iconic. I know Warner's is struggling recently with their DC universe, but hands down, Christopher Nolan's take on it was iconic and amazing.
Well, yeah, that was probably just the time that those things were released, though, because Marvel hadn't reached its
Right.
superiority. So at the time, the Christopher Nolan movies there wasn't really anything else like them at
No.
the time.
I think Disney was also in the process of switching around its head honchos as well. So I don't think Bob Iger was officially as the president at that time. I don't think, or not president, or whatever
CEO,
his
whatever he is.
Yeah, whatever his top,
Supreme leader.
Supreme leader Bob Iger. But I believe that they were switching around their staff at that time, so they weren't quite at the level that they're at currently. So yeah, Eric is right. Like it's all a timing thing. Like
Right.
you just
Mm-hmm.
all a timing thing. You just
it's
don't
just
know how it happens.
It's the time we're in right now.
But
Yeah.
it's what I'm kind of surprised by is that like those Dark Knight movies, they made 160 million, and
Yeah.
this one opened to 180. So there's very little room within that 20 million that is knocking these what are otherwise amazing powerhouse openings that we've never seen before, knocking them out. And it's kind of interesting, of the top 10 movie openings of all time, there's one from 2002,
Yeah.
which is what is that one? What is it? Oh, Avengers, the first Avengers.
2012.
Yeah, in 2012. Sorry.
Oh,
2012.
2002. Wait, what?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like,
Sorry,
we
2012.
have that money.
But the bulk of them are all in the last 3 years. There's 3 from 2015, which was a huge year for the box office and for theaters across the board.
yeah,
There's only 1 from 2016.
Yeah,
We kind of had a big drop off that year.
I mean, that's something I've kind of noticed is the top 10 doesn't really seem like this prestigious, the biggest movies of all time. Because next year, Star Wars Episode 9 is going to come out, and it's going to to be in that list.
Avengers Part 2.
It's a constantly changing list.
Whatever it is.
Infinity War
really only includes the biggest movies of that respective
so
year.
2017 had 2, and now 2018 is a powerhouse year with 3.
Yeah.
And we're not even done with the year. We're only halfway through. This could be the year that we see the most top 10 openings.
It's strange to me why that is though. Why the top 10 is just changing so much, because you hear about movie theater attendance like last year is the worst it's ever been, or the worst it's been in 20 years. But then you see these record breakers. They keep coming out. They keep happening. So I don't know if maybe that's because ticket prices are going up. So, technically they're going to be making more making more money.
I think it's a combination of a few things. You've got more upscale screens, meaning IMAX, PLF, D-Box, like those kind of screens that charge more money in their luxury screens. That'll bring in a little bit more and get some more ticket goers. But I think what you're really seeing is this event picture. So the overall yearly box offices aren't huge, even though we have these record-shattering openings, because everything in between these tent poles is not performing very well.
It's just kind of like a spike here, a spike there, and then for the most part, it's just kind of...
I think what you're seeing is just this... People have way more competition for their media dollars now. I only have so much money to spend on movies and video games and Hulu and Netflix and all these other things. And so when they do decide to spend money on a movie, they want to be a part of the big event. Yeah, and that's what you're seeing.
We better make sure that we get the most possible, all chips on the table, kind of just get as many people in as possible.
We got to get our bang for our buck, because my buck can be spent somewhere else now. And unlike any other time in movie history, we're seeing that real competition for the movie dollars. And that's why we're getting these kind of just rapid fire big openings and then die-offs.
Yeah, just kind of the handful of huge tent poles. And then in between those, it's just
and that's why I think
the constant flow of movies that, in comparison, not a lot of people are going to see.
And that's why I think you're also seeing Marvel and Star Wars being in the top 10, because they are events. These are continuations of this beloved story, and people want the next chapter. And you're not seeing a lot of original one-off films anymore in the top 10.
Yeah, it's really too bad.
It's incredible how it's changing not only the audience behavior, but the content of the films moving forward now.
Do you see that running out of steam, or do you think this is just kind of how it is now?
I think it's just kind of how it is now, and until you can get more people back into the theater and younger generations in the habit of going to a film, but that's so much harder to do, because like I said, you've got video games that are making a huge comeback. You've got TV streaming shows, this whole idea of binge watching.
I didn't think about the whole streaming aspect, because a lot of these movies, unless there's some big AAA spectacle like a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie, there's really no reason to see a smaller scale movies in the theater.
Well, no one's going to be talking about it. You can't share that experience with anybody, but people are now talking about, playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
And what's going on there, or streaming the last season of Game of Thrones, binging it, and having these marathon viewings. And that's just all behavior that never existed 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy just how fast it's, become the norm.
Yeah. And it's hard to instill that habitual movie-going habit in children when they've got so many other things going on.
I keep the spark alive.
Yeah.
Try to.
Doing my part. Yeah, the times are changing.
So I think we can all say that all three of us went and saw Incredibles this weekend.
There's a very good reason why it did what it did.
We were all super excited for it, and we all made it, which is...
Barely. I tried 2 separate times to go. Both times it was sold out, and, I got there fairly early. I wasn't pushing it, but 3rd time's the charm. I got my ticket, was able to see it late Sunday night, and it was worth it.
It was tough. I wanted to take my young son to it, and the first time we went, we walk into the theater after getting our tickets online, and there were no seats. And my son
you already paid?
Yeah, my son had
I
never experienced that, and so we had to walk out of the theater, and he was heartbroken, and I felt so bad for him.
I never. Sorry, quick rant for me. I never understood how theaters could possibly do that. Give you a ticket for a seat that does not exist. Like, how
probably the same.
Well, technically the seat existed, but there was like one in between somebody and another one.
It comes down to how people sit.
That's true, but you were saying like it felt like there was no seats at all.
No seats together for me and my son.
If you go in and it's already full, but there's like one seat in the very back,
or
and maybe another seat right there.
Or 2 seats in the front row.
I know I've had like 1 or 2 experiences where like you would walk in and there would just be like no seats available, but you still somehow have a ticket, and I'm just...
I think it's the same thing that sometimes
that makes me so
airlines
mad.
can do. Like technically they can sell a little bit more than there are seats because they're banking on the fact that some people just won't turn up.
Yeah.
And
I'm pretty sure that theater POS systems won't allow you to sell a ticket to a seat that doesn't exist, because when I and my son came back out, I didn't have the credit card that I purchased the tickets with. I left it at home.
Oh,
so they had to give me, they couldn't refund it. So they had to give me readmits.
Yeah.
And there was a gentleman there that was trying to get in to see his friends, and he couldn't get in because they didn't technically refund my ticket. So my tickets were technically still being used.
The seats
so
were
there
taken
were
by you.
Yeah. So there were no seats for him. So he didn't even get in for that either. So
yeah. I mean, every so often it can be that crazy.
But we did manage to go another early morning show and made it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that show was a lot better timed. I should remember that in the future, because there was a lot more kids in it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about mine.
Yeah, I didn't feel bad for my son talking.
No, I mean, when little kids, the movie is, I mean, it's for everybody, but, those are the kids who are going to be the most excited, and just purely because they're children. And it's a joy to kind of listen to them crack up or participate with what's going on. There's a little kid next to me who was, laughing at every joke, just having the best possible time, and it just upped the whole experience.
Yeah, my theater was a later showing, and it was mostly people around my age who saw the first one as a kid, and now they're like young adults, and they're able to, and they're just able to go see it on later showings. So there weren't that many kids, but there was like one really sassy kid like in the front row, and he would just comment like the entire time. He like timed it perfectly too. Like he wasn't annoying about it with his commentary, but like he just timed his commentary so perfectly that was just funny. Like it's a reminder that it's overall like it's a children's movie, but it's also a family movie, and you're supposed to have fun with it. And that was a good reminder as well. Like I really enjoyed that one kid. Like it was really funny.
Well, it just shows that the movie is just fantastic to see with a group of people. It knew exactly what the people had been wanting all this time, and it just delivered a story that was primarily just supposed to be a really fun time at the movies.
So what were your guys' favorite parts?
Okay, right off the bat, my standout favorite parts were really just all of Mr. Incredible struggling, especially like with the math and stuff. But when he finally when he had that like that eureka moment where he couldn't fall asleep, he's rambling and cursing to himself, and he just gets up and makes a cup of coffee, and then the next morning he has his glasses and his bathrobe and his coffee, and he's like, I figured out how to do this whole stay-at-home dad thing.
Right.
I got this. He's just determined to figure out that math.
The way they portrayed him being so exhausted was way too close to home. Like it was.
I kind of wonder.
When you have babies, you are just so tired.
Triggering.
It is just, and you cannot sleep, and it's just you're just functioning. You're just surviving. And my husband was like, "That was way too close. Like that was so accurate."
It's giving me flashbacks.
Yeah. No more kids.
That and Giant Jack. It
You
only
like giant
lasted
Jack
for like
Jack?
5 seconds, and I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. Just, they just had one last power they could
Right.
pull out, because he'd already showed like a dozen different powers, and it's hilarious every time there's a new one, because it's just, yeah, I mean, Jack Jack has more powers. What did you expect? He only had 10,
Yeah.
and then just giant Jack Jack out of nowhere.
My two favorite parts are obviously Jack Jack and fighting the raccoon, but
Yeah.
it was more of his like baby babble and how like determined he was
Oh,
to
yeah.
get that
Oh,
raccoon.
yeah.
Oh, I love that. That was so cute.
Well, I just love the little association, the raccoon with the burglar.
Yeah.
That's all you needed. It's just,
No.
you knew exactly what was
He
going on.
was getting in their
Okay,
trash and he was stealing from
That's a
them.
bad guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop him.
Yeah. and then Edna just connecting with the baby and
Yeah.
and how that just saved Mr. Incredible, gave him that break, but
Yeah.
her reaction to the baby was amazing.
That worked a lot better than I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
I was very nervous with her coming back. I didn't want it just to be like a
fan service kind of
like
thing.
a fan service type
Oh.
thing. And I guess in a way it kind of was, but it worked for me.
It was fun. Yeah, it
Yeah,
had a
I think it
function.
worked for a lot of people
It
too.
worked
yeah.
so worked,
I loved it.
especially when Jack Jack was walking down the hall with her, having a sucker.
Mimicking
Walking
her
exactly like her.
mannerisms.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was like, uh-oh, that is a power duo in the making.
My other favorite part, it was just like a split second, but it was just the look on her face when Mr. Incredible takes the family to the diner to see Violet's crush.
Oh.
Yes.
And she looks at him and then just immediately just shoots the thickest streams of water
Right.
out her
And her
nose.
face turns
yeah,
red.
It's only for
It's
like a
perfect.
It's only for like a frame, but if you're
Yeah.
looking at her face,
My
it's,
theater lost
oh my
it.
gosh.
My theater lost
Oh,
it at
same
that
here.
part.
It was, and then it just keeps going. She looks away, and you can just see the water pouring out, and her face
Yeah.
is just, oh my god, it was so hard to watch. Poor Violet. My
So
God.
lifelike too. You can just imagine that really happening to you.
Yes, absolutely. It
Yeah.
was so
Dad
relatable.
thinks he's like doing a good thing.
Yes, and because he thinks
Right.
he is. It just makes it even better.
So
He's sitting there
innocent.
like, I have the best idea.
Yeah.
Violet is gonna love me. No, not
Go
quite.
south so fast.
I also really like the part at the end, and this is just me coming from a mom, where they really captured real life mom things. Where at the end, when Elastigirl's like, "I missed Jack Jack's first power," oh my gosh, like yeah, that just was like, yeah, oh no, I would have had that same
Yeah.
worry. That would have been my first reaction. Not that he had powers or what they were, that I missed seeing the first one.
Yeah, Elastigirl may have been out saving the world and doing all this, but
Right.
at the end of the day, all she really cares about is
Being a mom and being
Yeah.
there.
She's like,
Yeah.
what? I missed this power.
You guys didn't
Missed
tell
his,
me.
like, first 10.
They would have been so much trouble if that was me. I would have been so crushed that I missed it.
Well, that's what's so great when you think about it, because the movie's so funny and hilarious and entertaining all the way through. But just like the first one, if you take a step back, they're just such real characters. Everything they do, all the scenarios, are just so relatable. Even though it's about superheroes and
Right.
fighting supervillains, really the standout scenes stand out because they're so genuine. They're so relatable, and I'm glad that the movie didn't kind of lose that the first one did so well.
No, I'm glad they if it took them doing it 14 years for them to capture that same spark and genuineness
Yeah.
of the characters, I could wait another. I don't want to wait 14 years, but again
Right.
for another one. But I'm glad it did it justice.
Yeah, it just goes to show if a movie if it's fun and it's entertaining and it was made with, the people who were making it tried to do the best they could, I will gladly welcome an Incredibles 3 if it continues this quality.
Because there's so many life stories they could go into.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then, Kyle, you saw Tag. We touched on it a little bit, but
yeah.
what were your reactions?
I
Compare it to Incredibles 2.
well, okay. No, I enjoyed it overall. I thought it was a solid comedy for the most part. I really enjoyed the entire cast that was there. There was one or two that were some solid actors that you've seen in many other comedies, but they weren't given their due. They needed to have a little bit. Their characters actually were the problem. Their characters were just so unnecessary and were just for story purposes
really?
and just for filler purposes that
Which
they were just
ones?
unnecessary. Rashida Jones was one, and then the actress who played the reporter, I believe she was in The Mummy, actually, now that I think about it, but she, I can't remember her name. She didn't have much to do. Like, obviously, she was, like, our eyes to follow, like, all the ridiculousness that their game was, but when you just really look at it, like, she just was not given anything to work off of.
Okay.
But for the most part, though, it's the main 5 guys that were, like, the standouts for it. They really made that movie work. Isla Fisher, who played Ed Helms' husband, was really funny. Or wife.
Yeah, I kind of read that she's unexpectedly funny.
She's
like,
unexpectedly
she's
funny,
unhinged,
but
is
then
what it looks like.
yeah, for sure. But you
oh,
also
weird,
remember,
like in Wedding Crashers when she's unhinged. I love
Yeah,
that character.
Well, it reminded me of
Yeah,
Wedding. Like,
that
it
makes sense.
reminds me how funny she is and how
Right.
much I love her in like anything that she does. So
Yeah, she can get weird, but
She-
in the best way.
it
It's
works
funny.
so
Yeah.
it works so well. Like, she's almost into the entire thing more than like some of the other guys are at points, and it's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, though, when you walk out of it, like, the movie does a really great job at combining the outlandish comedy that's happening, but bringing in the heart and like the point of the story, which is, always try and reconnect at moments with your friends, reach
Yeah,
out
you
to
gotta
them, like,
Keep your friends in your life.
yeah, just remember those that you cherish the most, because life has a funny way of just being able to try and tear you guys apart, and if you can find ways on staying together or at least keeping in contact, then make sure to do it. So
It's beautiful.
it's usually like when you try to step into the world of realism and outlandishness and comedies, like, it fails, but for whatever
Yeah, it's
reason in
definitely a
this one it
balancing act.
works.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I think this movie I'm really excited to see it because of Isla Fisher. I love her.
Yeah.
But I think this will do really well and be like a slow burner, kind of in the background, but never really going away, because people need a fun comedy. And we're going to have Jurassic World, and then we're going to have some kids stuff coming up, but
True,
there's
yeah.
not really going to be a huge event film, I think, after Jurassic World.
Yeah,
Maybe
not for a
Mission.
while.
Yeah. So I think that it could play like how Game Night did, where it didn't
Yeah, it's
open
just kind of
great.
that one pretty good comedy
Right.
that people can always rely or
Just
fall
need
back on.
a fallback. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
it's a good point.
it got a pretty decent cinema score when it left, and so as people exited, so I'm fairly confident it's gonna sustain in there
Yeah.
and be good overall.
I'm excited to catch it this week.
I've been happy with the quality of comedies overall this year. Like, Game Night was solid, so was Blockers, and now we have Tag. I think there was one more too, but I can't think of the other one that I saw that was pretty solid too. But for the most part, though, like, it's been a good year for comedies, and I hope we can keep it up throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, and and that's what the box office is missing, are these kind of lower run films, but that just maintain and
Yeah.
have what we call in the industry have legs and keep going.
Yeah. Good old legs.
Good old legs. I mean, those films, are solid performers, and you can come to rely on them, and it's just nice to have them as supplements to some of the other big titles in your theater.
I mean, now that I think about it, that's kind of what I did with Game Night, and I feel like that's what a lot of people do. They'll see the big tent poles that everybody sees opening weekend, so they can talk to other people about it. But then, maybe a week or two later, they'll be sitting around and they'll, what would be fun to do? Oh wait, Tag is still at the movies. That was supposed to be pretty good. Let's go catch it on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Movies that kind of work like that.
Or like a Super Saver night where you're like, it's Tuesday night, nothing else is
Just
going
kind of on a whim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a fun, safe time.
And Warner's is pretty good about being flexible with the scheduling, so you can keep it that longer period. They'll let you do shows and
That's good.
keep them in the theaters longer. So that's always a plus, and I look forward to supporting them on that.
For sure.
Well, I think overall it was a great weekend. We're super all excited about Incredibles.
Yeah.
I think we might even all go see it again.
I
It was just
probably
so
will.
good.
Could try, yeah.
Yeah, I can try. If I can make it through the doors.
Yeah.
Right.
If I can force
It was
myself
so
to.
crazy.
We all learned some life lessons, even
Yeah.
my 4-year-old son, about getting to the theater early.
I always usually do, but I was not prepared for the
Oh.
turnout of Incredibles 2. My God, that might have been the busiest I've seen this specific theater. For
Yeah.
like, even compared to Star Wars or
Right.
other Marvel movies.
Well, you
For some reason,
you
it's just
expected it on
packed.
some of those, and so you
True.
maybe planned accordingly. This one, I don't know if you expected
Yeah.
it to be so big.
That's a good point, though. You brought up. I didn't even think that it's a huge chunk of this audience are going to be people who saw the first one as a kid. So obviously they're going to want to come back.
Right.
It's kind of like a milestone. It just kind of shows how much people have grown up in these 14 years. So it's kind of has a personal attachment in that way.
Oh, and it'll be good. On a side note, I do think that sometimes theaters don't plan accordingly for this kind of thing. No. Not having enough shows on the screen, especially our local theater, but also having, too many 3D shows, because that's not going to play well for little kids. Little kids don't like the glasses, and parents don't like the upcharge for them.
I don't like them. Most of the people I talk to don't really like it.
Right. So I think the theater here, that kind of was a bummer, because some of the better show times were actually in 3D showings where you couldn't take your children. And also, they just didn't plan the trailers very well. And I know that a lot of the big theater chains, the top 3, kind of get a kickback from the theaters or from the studios to have certain trailers play on there, whereas little theaters don't get that. But really, the local theater didn't need to have Axel on the preview and didn't need to have Bumblebee, because they're kind of the audiences, and you want your trailers on big films, but my son only has the attention span of like an hour and a half tops, and the film was already going to push that. And then to have a half an hour worth of previews plus the short film.
So much.
Oh, we didn't even talk about
I love the short film.
Okay,
I don't know how you say it.
Rewind back. We're going to talk about the short film and then be done.
Oh my God, I wanted to cry. It was so good.
I cried twice in that short film.
God.
I got all my tears out before Incredibles. I cried
seriously
when Mom was lonely. I cried when the little baby dumpling was trying to leave her. I was like, no, you can't leave your mommy. And then I bawled my eyes out when her son came back,
oh my God,
sat on the bed with her, and they each had a tear go down. Oh my gosh. So hard as a mommy.
I was like, wait, Incredibles 2 can't start yet. I'm still processing this.
Yes.
Like, my God, I have to dry these tears.
My theater probably had the best reaction from it, because at first, like, when you see that the dumpling is alive, like, everyone was like, okay, where is this going? And then they slowly, I could, like, feel, like, everyone's vibe of everyone, like, getting into the relationship as a protective mother with a son that's trying to, like, get away from all the protectiveness, and that back and forth between them. They were like, yeah, I'm getting into this, I like this story. And then the real shock of, like, what happens at, like, the final fight between the dumpling
when she eats it.
Like it.
My God, that, like, happened to everyone in the theaters. Like,
literally, there was a second where the theater was just silent.
Oh yeah.
And then nervous laughter started building, and then finally everyone just lost it. Like, the scene is supposed to be sad with her crying and, like, breaking down, but everyone's just losing it because they just forgot that it was a dumpling.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a testament to the characterization of the little dumpling.
Without saying anything. Just emoting.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, I feel like, to its credit, that part was supposed to be just absurdly kind of funny, but also sad, because I was still sad, but I was also laughing. Sad,
but I was laughing hard.
But then it just holds on her, and she's bawling on the floor, and the camera pulls back and fades to black, and the audience is still laughing. I'm like, this is really weird. And I thought that was the end for a split second, but then it just then it comes back with that.
Be an amazing ending. Though.
But then it comes back, and I should have realized, of course, the dumpling is her real son. It's like, oh my God, I'm still thinking about it. I loved it. That might be recency bias, of course, but that might be one of my, like, very favorite Pixar shorts.
I don't know if it's my favorite, but it definitely got me as being a mom, and I'm sitting there with my young son.
That's gonna be him someday.
And I'm like, no, you are never leaving mommy, in like a creepy, crazy way. But I know it's just so heartbreaking forever. As a parent. You put all your love, all your care, all your protection, you worry, everything goes into those babies, and then they want to be independent, leave you, and you're like,
leave me alone.
And it's never nice. It's never like, okay, well, I'm going now,
it's
and
my time.
I'm gonna ease it. No, it is always
prepared
abrupt.
Me well for life. It is time for me to
and
depart.
Then they bring home a blonde, and you're like, wait, what? Who is this girl?
A feather pen.
No, I loved it. I loved it so much.
Yeah, it really worked for me a lot more than I thought it would.
My favorite of all time is still the lava Pixar short.
I don't understand the love for that one. I'm sorry.
I love it. It's my favorite.
That's not even Pixar though, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Is it? What did it play before?
Or no, it actually came before Moana, didn't it?
No,
No,
it
it
didn't.
played
Before Inside Out, I think.
Oh, yep, it was. It's a Pixar
because
short. It was
made
definitely before.
I was
Inside
it
Out.
before Inside
I was
Out?
pregnant with one of my sons, and I cried my eyes out, and then I cried all through Inside Out. It was I should never go to a movie pregnant.
I just don't understand the love for lava. Like I just don't think it's
I
not one of
love
my
lava.
favorites.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that great.
It
was just
I love when
it
Pixar
was kind
shorts
of
aren't
annoying.
afraid
It
to
was
just
honestly
get-
annoying. Like I
Really?
yeah, I don't know.
I learned to play
why.
that lava
Just-
song, and I would like hum it to myself.
From the
Just-
guy that likes happy time ukulele music, you didn't like lava.
Well, I don't know what to tell you there.
contradicting yourself, Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle.
True. That is very contradictory. But
Is it because they had words in it? You just like ukulele
you know
by
what?
itself.
You got me. I hate words. I hate volcanoes saying
Bottom
words.
line,
It's one of my
Kyle's
pet
opinion is
peeves.
wrong.
Right.
The lava short's fantastic.
Yeah.
Not as good as Bow, but
I
whatever.
just think there's some older ones that are better than it. And
What do you like? Like
I remember the bird
paper
one on
planes?
the telephone line was one of my favorites.
that one is good.
yeah.
The old men playing chess is a classic.
That's I think that was before Bug's Life.
Might have been.
I remember
It was
that's one of the
their
ones
first
I've known for the longest time.
Yeah, there was I don't know if many people remember this one, but I just remember this one recently. It was the rabbit with the magician. The rabbit's trying to get the carrot. Does anyone remember that one
I
at
don't
all?
think
No.
so.
Oh, that one's
Did
good.
that play
I'm
before
pretty sure that
something,
one.
or is that just
I'm pretty sure that one was Pixar, but that one I remember was pretty funny too.
I think there was paper planes. That one was
maybe
neat.
the Paperman one? I think that was before Wreck-It
yeah.
Ralph. That one
Yeah.
is beautiful.
Was
I
it?
love that one. The music in that one is super
That
good
one
too.
is
It's like kind of
pretty.
black and white and kind of
Where-
cell shaded comic booky
Right.
almost.
and it's
I
like a
don't remember this
love
one.
about them, and they have umbrellas and they like keep passing each other, but this paper airplane connects them.
Yeah, I played before Wreck-It Ralph. That's how I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah. I didn't see Wreck-It Ralph in the theater, so I wouldn't know that
Oh,
one.
yeah, you should
And
check that
then-
one out. It's
Okay.
Isn't
good.
there one of a little bird, Piper?
The one on the beach.
Yes, that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
That one was before. That one might have been
That was a
before
more
Moana,
recent
actually.
Yeah, that's.
one.
I think it was. That was crazy good animation.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
photorealistic.
beautiful.
Yeah, you're right. That one.
That one was really
That one is
pretty.
probably one of my favorites too. Now that I think about it.
We should dedicate a whole podcast to just the Pixar shorts.
Oh, I
'cause
totally-
there's
yeah, I
such a
totally
collection
would.
I
now.
just want to watch.
I want
Bao
to talk
again.
more about lava.
Just sitting here thinking about
Not
Bao.
good it
You
is.
Stop. Lava's amazing. I make my
Animation
children
is-
listen to the song.
The animation in it, of course, is really good. Like I will give it that, but it's just more
It's
annoying
so
to me
dark.
than anything.
He's like resigned to the fact that he's just gonna drown and
It's
he's
a
never gonna be able
volcano.
to. His,
He used
his
up all
love
of
is
his
never gonna see
lava.
him.
But she brings his
Oh,
lava
she lights
back.
his fire,
Yeah.
and he comes roaring back
Roaring
to the
back.
surface.
Yep, we went there.
Oh, come on, that's absolutely. They're not being shy about it.
Yeah, that's true.
She was made for him.
They were volcanoes.
There's somebody out there for everyone.
Yeah, even volcanoes.
You can
Isn't
say
that beautiful?
No,
He gets to see all the pairings.
Kyle doesn't
all
believe
over.
that there's somebody out there for everyone.
Oh, are you-
I'm just being mean now.
Just a mean old cynic.
Cold-hearted.
Cold-hearted.
Who thought Kyle would
just
be so
awful.
dead
Lava's
inside?
lava's a litmus test for.
Outside this happy
Real
face
human
is just a
beings.
Right.
dead cold heart.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just watch Pixar shorts, and then I'll skip lava, and then
Oh.
Isn't a conscious decision. Like, screw that.
yeah, just to spite you
I'm not
guys.
even gonna watch it.
Well, on that bombshell, I think we'll wrap it up till later
On
this
that
week.
dark note.
Yeah. Kyle's got some homework to do to revive that cold dead heart of his.
Sorry to bring you guys down.
Right. Incredibles was amazing.
Yes.
Well, I'll go see it again.
So is Bao.